you find the perfect seaport. A location where every passing ship is forced to stop. Every container that docks pays you. Every cargo ship pays a fee. Every importing business becomes your customer. Sounds like a money-printing machine. No competition. No one can build another port right next to it. You just sit back and watch the goods arrive. Money flows into your account automatically. That's why many people believe that seaports are one of the most perfect businesses in the world. But if that's true, why do so few investors dare to build a new port? Why do many ports cost tens of billions of dollars but still lose money? And why can the world's largest investment funds still lose billions of dollars because of one wrong decision? To understand that, we have to start with a simple question. Who actually makes money from a seaport? Please create 10 prompts for me that fit the above scenario, specifically including the first line with the sequence number 1.
Most people think that port revenue comes from mooring fees.
That's true, but only partly true. A huge container ship only stays in port for a few hours. That fee is only a small part of it. The real money comes elsewhere. Containers, warehouses, trucks, railways, bonded warehouses, logistics centers. Every extra day a container stays is extra money. Every extra truck that enters the port is extra money. Every square meter of warehouse space is extra money. In reality, many modern ports make more money from real estate and logistics than from cargo handling itself.
Do you think all you need to do is deepen the sea?
No. You have to build breakwaters, ships, docks, container crane systems, railways, highways, cold storage, customs, inspection centers. Dredging the shipping channel alone could take years. If the depth is short by just 1 meter, the world's largest ships wouldn't be able to dock. The entire project could fail. This is the most dangerous thing. You borrow tens of billions of dollars. The day the money is dispersed, the clock starts ticking. You have to pay interest, even before a single ship arrives. If the project is delayed by 2 years, the interest could amount to billions of dollars, while revenue is zero. That's why so many infrastructure projects fail right before their opening day. Not the docks, not the cranes, but shipping companies. If Maersk, MSC, Costco don't choose your port, you have no customers, no containers, no revenue.
A modern port, but no international shipping routes. Just a giant concrete block. That's why large ports like Singapore, Rotterdam, or Shanghai aren't rich because they have nicer docks. They're rich because they've built an ecosystem that shipping companies can't ignore. And here's the most interesting fact. When you buy a port, you're not buying the cranes. You're buying control over the flow of trade in an entire region. That's the real asset. This is where most people get it wrong. You think seaports sell cargo handling services. No. At least, that's no longer their biggest source of profit. Look at the port of Rotterdam. Every year, over 400 million tons of cargo pass through it. But what makes Rotterdam one of the most valuable ports in the world isn't the number of containers. It's everything that happens around them. A container arrives at the port. It doesn't disappear immediately. It has to be stored, inspected, cleared customs, transferred to trucks, or trains, or barges. During that time, everyone pays. Logistics companies pay warehouse rent. Shipping companies pay terminal fees. Importers pay container storage fees. Fuel companies sell oil to ships. Ship repair and maintenance companies. Trade finance banks. Insurance companies. Hundreds of other businesses all make money from a single ship. This transforms a seaport into not just a dock, but an economic hub for an entire region. There's something interesting. Shipping companies always want to save money, but they're very reluctant to change ports. Why? Because the entire supply chain is built around it. Thousands of trucks every day, hundreds of businesses, cold storage, distribution centers, railways, highways.
If they switched to a different port, not only would the ship have to change, the entire logistics system behind it would have to change as well. That would be far more expensive. That's why, when a port has become a regional transit hub, its advantages almost protect itself. Not through legislation, but through its economic network. But not all ports are successful. Over the past 2 decades, many countries have invested billions of dollars in building megaports. They believed that, if the port is big enough, shipping companies will come on their own. But the reality is the opposite. Shipping companies don't choose the biggest port. They choose the most efficient port. If it takes 2 extra days to dock, fuel costs can amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars. If customs procedures are slow, containers are held up. The entire supply chain is also slowed down. 1 day of delay can cost customers millions of dollars in lost revenue. Therefore, a new port, no matter how modern it is, if it's not faster, not cheaper, not better connected, it will be very difficult to attract shipping companies.
That's why many newly built ports are always deserted. Cranes worth tens of millions of dollars sit idle. Empty docks, empty warehouses, internal roads devoid of trucks. A logistics city without cargo. This is something few people consider. A port's biggest rival isn't another port. It's the trade route. If shipping companies change their routes, if a new trade agreement is signed, if a new canal opens, if geopolitical conflict erupts, in just a few months, millions of containers could switch to a completely different route. That has happened many times in history. A political decision, a crisis, a war can change the flow of global trade. And when the flow changes, some ports suddenly become busier than ever, but others gradually fade into obscurity. That's why, imagine, you just spent $18 billion building one of the world's most modern ports. Automated cranes taller than a 10-story building, an AI-powered container management system, a direct rail connection to the industrial park. Everything seems perfect. Then, an email arrives. Just a few lines. One of the world's 3 largest shipping companies announces they will be moving their entire shipping route to another port. Not next year, not next quarter, but next month. It doesn't sound too serious until you look at the numbers. A major shipping company can account for tens of % of a port's container traffic. They don't just carry cargo, they carry thousands of trucks, logistics companies, warehouses, import-export businesses, insurance companies, fuel supply companies. A single decision could cause an entire chain of businesses to leave. That's why seaports don't compete with concrete, they compete with relationships. People often think competition between ports takes place at sea. Actually, it takes place in boardrooms. Every year, hundreds of negotiations take place behind closed doors, between port management, shipping companies, logistics companies, local authorities. No one publishes the details, but everyone understands. If you want to keep customers, you have to offer better terms. It could be lower handling fees. It could be faster customs clearance times. It could be a commitment to expanding the port, or simply a promise that there will be no congestion during peak season. In this industry, reputation is sometimes worth more than money. A state-of-the-art container crane costs tens of millions of dollars. Very expensive. But that's not the biggest investment. The most expensive thing is time. If a ship has to wait 8 hours to dock, the entire schedule afterwards will be disrupted. The next ship will have to wait. Containers will be delivered late. The factory will run out of raw materials. The supermarket will be slow to receive its goods. Costs will increase every hour. In maritime transport, time truly is money. That's why the world's most efficient ports are always striving to shorten every minute. 1 minute at the gate, 1 minute at the berth,
1 minute in customs procedures. Those tiny minutes, when added together, can create advantages worth billions of dollars annually. 20 years ago, a container was handled primarily by human labor. Today, many ports operate almost entirely automatically. Unmanned transport vehicles, remotely controlled cranes, cameras that identify containers, algorithms that predict cargo flow, artificial intelligence that optimizes storage space. The goal is simple: to make each container stay in the port for the shortest possible time. Because if a container leaves the port early, this means there is room for the next container. Efficiency increases, revenue increases, while costs remain almost unchanged. That is the leverage that port operators are always pursuing. If this industry is so risky, why do large investment funds continue to hunt for seaports? The answer lies in one word: stability. A factory can close, a technology company can become obsolete, a product can disappear in just a few years, but global trade will continue. As long as people are producing, consuming, importing, and exporting, goods will still need to be transported. And as long as goods are being transported, seaports will remain irreplaceable. That's why many pension funds, national investment funds, infrastructure corporations are willing to hold a port for 30, 40, even 50 years. They're not looking for quick profits. They seek a stable stream of income over several decades. Come here. Perhaps you've realized it. A seaport is never just a place where ships dock. It's the center of an entire economic network. It connects factories, businesses, railways, roads, warehouses, and millions of consumers. You don't make money just by having a port. You make money by controlling the flow of goods. But that power comes with a huge price. Just misjudging demand, just a few years' delay, or losing a strategic customer. An investment of tens of billions of dollars can become a burden lasting for decades. That's the paradox of the port industry, where the world's most valuable assets can also become the site of the most costly mistakes. And that's also the reason behind every ship that quietly docks that we see every day is a business battle that has lasted for decades, with decisions that can make or break an entire empire. If you ask an investor what makes a port valuable, most will answer, location. That's true, but it's not enough. What truly determines value is the shipping route. Look at the world map. More than 80% of international goods are transported by sea. That means every phone, every car, every piece of clothing, every electronic chip, all must pass through a series of fixed shipping routes. These routes are not random. They were formed over hundreds of years. Wherever a place lies on that route, it will prosper. Wherever it is left behind, it will gradually disappear. That's why Singapore has become one of the largest commercial centers on the planet. It's not because they have abundant resources. It's not because of their large size, but because they are located in a place where almost every ship between Asia and Europe must pass through. That's an advantage that money can't buy. Imagine, you've just invested tens of billions of dollars in a port. You believe that cargo volume will continue to increase. Then, another country builds a new shipping route or expands a canal. Immediately, thousands of ships change their routes. Not because your port is inferior, but because the new route saves them a few days. In the shipping industry, 3 days isn't just 3 days. It's millions of dollars. A giant container ship consumes hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fuel per trip. Shortening the journey means reducing costs. And when shipping companies save money, they won't hesitate to change their stopping points. That's why port investors always monitor the world map, more than their balance sheet. War. It sounds far removed from the logistics industry, but in reality, this is one of the most powerful influencing factors. Just one unstable region, a strait blockade, a shipping route threatened. The entire trade network will change. Shipping companies will have to take detours, fuel costs will rise, shipping times will lengthen, insurance prices will skyrocket. Ultimately, the ports are the first to feel the change. Some ports will suddenly be packed with ships. Other ports will be almost deserted, not because they did something wrong, but because the world has changed. That's a risk no business plan can fully control. Today, it's no longer a competition between individual ports, but a competition between ecosystems. A modern port is not just a dock. It also includes industrial parks, logistics centers, cold storage facilities, data centers, assembly plants, bonded warehouses, e-commerce businesses, transportation companies, banks, insurance companies. This entire ecosystem operates like a giant machine. The more businesses that concentrate, the lower the costs, the faster the services. The more businesses continue to arrive. Economists call this the network effect. That's also why megaports are getting bigger and bigger, while smaller ports are finding it increasingly difficult to compete. When you stand before a seaport, you'll see ships, containers, giant cranes. But the thing that creates the greatest value is completely intangible. It's data. Every container is tracked. Every truck is scheduled. Every ship's arrival time is calculated down to the minute. A modern port processes millions of data points every day, not for aesthetics, but to save every minute. Because in this industry, 1 minute of delay can result in hundreds of containers being delivered late, and hundreds of containers delivered late can cause a major customer to leave forever. If you had the chance to buy a seaport tomorrow, would you buy it? Perhaps. If it were a port in the right location, with a stable customer base, with a complete logistics ecosystem, with the potential for expansion over the next few decades, then it could be one of the most valuable assets you'll ever own. But if you only see the ships coming and going every day, ignoring the costs, risks, geopolitics, and the changing landscape of global trade, you wouldn't be buying a money-printing machine. You would be buying an investment that could swallow tens of billions of dollars. That's the reality of the seaport industry. An industry where success isn't determined by what people see on the surface, but by the economic, political, and commercial currents silently at work behind the scenes.